doubled in Nassau County and tripled in Suffolk over the last 4 years. Are we losing control over our communities to gang violence? And what are our local police and officials doing to stop it? Tonight is your chance, Long Island, to sound off. Are you afraid to walk the streets in your neighborhood? Gangs on Long Island. That's the focus of this special edition of At Issue. Everyone, welcome to this special edition of At Issue, Gangs on Long Island. I'm Lee Tyrell. We are live tonight, and we want to hear from you. Is gang violence a problem in your neighborhood? And what are your officials and even your community doing about it? Give us a call at 516-393-1800, or you can email us at news12li@news12.com. Now, it's a problem we used to associate with the streets of the city, gangs. But our Long Island communities are also becoming more and more of a hangout for gangs, placing us all at risk. News 12 Long Island's Doug Geed takes a closer look.
Gangs meet every week. They have a pot that they put money in.
Kids as young as 10 joining gangs.
We have young people whose parents are correction officers to college professors who become involved with gang activity.
Valerie McFadden is with the nonprofit Family and Children's Association. Since 1988, she's been counseling both gang members and kids who are threatened or recruited by gangs.
They have access to guns. There's more violence in the level of activity where it used to be hand-to-hand combat. You fought, you let it go. Now it's more dangerous. If there's a fight and one has lost, or you feel you've been disrespected by a word, then that can cost you your life.
Parkside, that's a sect of the Bloods in Hempstead.
Tom Wildig is president of the Nassau Detectives Association. He's worked extensively on gangs in his 3 decades with Nassau Police.
Over the last few years, we've seen it spread. We've seen it move into areas it's never been before. Recent murder up in Old Westbury and Bethpage, both on the same day.
There are signs that indicate when someone's involved in a gang. Some are obvious, the color of clothing they wear. Others are more subtle. A homework assignment or a test that a student may hand in may have certain letters, such as C or B, that refer to rival gangs crossed out as a sign of disrespect.
This is what they call their flags. These are their major identifiers.
For both McFadden, the counselor, and Wildig, the enforcer, the solutions lie in more parental awareness and involvement with their kids, more police presence both on the streets and undercover, and more cooperation between schools, government, and neighborhood organizations.
Can we impact what's happening? I believe we can if we begin to work together and really look at saving our young people.
In Hempstead, Doug Geed, News 12 Long Island.
All right, a lot to talk about tonight. Joining me in the studio, Nassau County Legislator Abrahams, who has made keeping kids in his district out of gangs one of his top priorities. From the Special Investigative Squad of the Nassau County Police Department, Detective Sergeant Greg Quinn. Also tonight, Sergio Argueta, a former gang member who now runs Strong, which is a gang prevention program. Assistant District Attorney and Lead Prosecutor for Suffolk County's Gang Unit, Jim Shalafo, and Dr. Paul Siborowski. Dr. Siborowski teaches courses in youth at risk and gang involvement at CW Post, and he's also run multiple gang prevention programs in Suffolk County. Now, they are all here to answer your questions tonight. 516-393-1800 is the number to call. You can also email us at news12li@news12.com. And I will start the questions off first. And Sergeant, let me ask you about whether our perception is right. The perception is that the gang problem here on Long Island is growing. The gangs are getting larger, and they're becoming more violent. Is that correct?
I don't believe we have a large growth of the gang members in the county or Nassau or Suffolk, but the ones that are here currently have become violent in the last few weeks, committing a couple murders. In the last few years, since last October, Commissioner Lawrence established a anti-gang task force after the murder of Mr. Battaglia in Limbrook.
Right.
And since that date, we've made 410 arrests with that anti-gang task force, of which 27 were gun arrests. We are very proactive with this right now and continuing. What
happened in the case of Mr. Battaglia? He was attacked by gang members?
At the present time, that case is still under court, going to court. It is still pending, and they were an associate of gang members, an associate of a gang or gang members, and that'll come out at the trial.
So an innocent bystander targeted?
He was walking home from the train station.
Jim, let's take a look at the situation in Suffolk County. I know you just wrapped up a case, and just to give people an idea of how far the gang problem has reached, you just wrapped up a case that took place in Hampton Bays.
We did. Yesterday, 4 defendants took guilty pleas to either gang assault or attempted gang assault in the first degree. They were 2 Mexican gangs, Los Niños Malos and Los Gatos. They are not, and I think this is maybe one of the problems that the public has. I think that everybody focuses a lot on the major gangs that we have, the Bloods, the Crips, MS-13,
right,
the Latin Kings, and I think that you can see, or this case illustrates for us, that there are other gangs that are formed maybe in other countries, maybe here. The group of kids, in this particular case, these gangs aren't out terrorizing their communities or doing certain things, but when they got together, when they were around each other, there was a rivalry there, and it led that night to tragic consequences for our victim.
Is the situation with gangs getting worse in Suffolk County?
Well, I believe since Mr. Spoda has taken office, it's gotten better. I think he made that.
But do you have to do more work? I mean, are you doing more work?
Absolutely, I think we do have more, but I think the reason that we have more cases in our gang unit is because we detect more cases. We have detectives that work with us in the Suffolk DA's office. We also have detectives that work for the police department, and they flag these cases from the time of arrest. And if they come into the system after arrest, they are now assigned to the gang unit. Mr. Spoda hired Hector LaSalle, who is an experienced prosecutor, when he came back, and under Mr. LaSalle's guidance, we handle each case that comes through, and they get special attention, and the plea bargains or plea offers that we may offer these people are different than the regular cases.
All right, the calls from our viewers starting to come in. We have Carl on the line from Seacliff. Carl, thanks for joining us. What's your question?
It's not a question, comment. I just basically blame this all on lack of leadership with the police, the school, and the politicians. I think the police should have New York State come in, cover the highways. This will put more Nassau County cops out in the street. You got to get back to foot patrols in Westbury, Newcastle, things like that. You need tougher enforcement. You got to enforce the existing law. We have a situation in our area. I don't see them enforcing existing laws. There's graffiti all over the place. You need cameras. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do. Make a drive for more auxiliary police. Put people out there. Let them, be the eyes and ears of the police department. I just look at it. It's going downhill. I just see our area. I don't know who to blame it on except for the politicians, police.
Oh, well, okay. I've got politicians and police here, so we'll throw it over to them, Carl. Thank you. Kavan, what's your response to that?
Well, the one thing I can say in regards to what we've been doing, I was very proud last year working with the members of the legislature and the county executive. We were able to get $500,000 towards gang improvement agencies. So I'm very proud to say from that standpoint. Also, the county executive has led a program, TAG, Teams Against Gangs, which also is in its infancy stages, but at the same time is something that I think he had showed an effort to try to address the gang problem. The bottom line is that the entities that the caller may have left out is not just the politicians, the police. I think you also got to bring in the clergy, you got to bring in families, and you got to talk about the educators. You have to talk about each and every entity that has a presence in a young person's life to begin to network and bring that process in together, or we're not going to get anywhere with this problem.
All right, Jim,
I think what he said is prevention, and we're talking about the other end of it, which is prosecution. But I think a lot of these kids can be gotten early because we have what they call wannabes. Our researchers showed that they're actually giving out literature now in elementary schools recruiting kids to get into gangs. So as you're saying, it has to be a whole community effort in prevention, and I think if we have more in prevention, we'll have less on the prosecution end. And parents have to, as you said, parents have to realize, and Doug Geed mentioned it before when he said about you let parents look at the kids starting to use tattoos, the kind of clothes the kids are using. They have extra cash. Where's that extra cash coming from? These are things parents have to monitor. I
want to get Sergio's take on this in a minute, but I want to go to Arthur from Franklin Square on the line. I'm sorry, Anthony. Anthony, thank you for joining us. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I'm a teacher in Nassau County, and I'm wondering what is my role as an educator in helping to identify gangs in school, to tell a kid to take off his hat, his bandana? How much leeway do I have in how much power do I have in helping to lessen identity of gangs inside my school?
All right, great question. And Dr. Siborowski, that's what you do. So let's get an answer from you.
We worked in school districts, and the first thing we do is a lot of faculty conferences we have regarding that. Principals, I know in Huntington, have actually banned bandanas, have banned certain clothing in the schools themselves. I think the first thing is the faculty have to be aware that it's going on. And although you say, well, the faculty should be aware, a lot of them aren't in terms of hand signals that youngsters will use, tattoos, the clothing that they wear, that teachers should be able to identify and then report this to the main office, the assistant principal, and then from there you get the programs in, like Sergio is running in Uniondale. CW Post is working with Uniondale as well to get into the school the kinds of prevention programs that they need.
Well, Sergio, does that make a difference? Does it matter to you if a teacher gets involved or a teacher kind of sees the signs and then parents get involved and the clergy gets involved? Does it matter when you're a gang member that the community is trying to stop you from getting involved?
I mean, in order to be effective, we just really began addressing the issue from an intervention and a prevention perspective. For the past 4 years, we've been raising the issue and saying we have to provide the alternatives.
Your group, Strong, has been doing that for the last 4 years.
You know, we haven't gotten much of a response from our legislators. There have been legislators such as Kevon Abrahams that has begun to lead that charge, and we're looking forward to some more funding. Many of our youngsters, the youngsters that are involved in gangs, have been the same youngsters that have been shut out of the system. I mean, there's a correlation between low-performing schools and gang activity. There's a correlation, you know. But now, in my opinion, you know, I do believe gangs are on the rise here on Long Island. I'm receiving phone calls from districts that would have never had us in before.
Such as?
Such, you know, shall remain nameless.
Okay.
Because there's sort of like the shame that comes along with saying, you know, oh, we have, you know, I drive past $1 million homes with gated communities, and it's not a gang problem, but it's Caucasian kids that wear the same color and get into occasional fights with each other, but it's not a gang problem.
All right, interesting. All right, Sergeant Quinn wanted to say something.
On the school end, the Nassau County Police has a program where we have the administrators of the schools come in every 2 months. One of our detectives hosts a roundtable meeting where the school administrators, the deans of students, as they said before, and we speak about all the problems that are going on in each individual school district. I'm not even going to mention the districts because the districts want to work together. If something works in one school district, the other district will try it. There's as many as 80 attendees to these meetings at this time. It's highly successful, and if the caller wants to, please contact my office at 573-8000, and we'll get somebody from your school in there.
We'll have that information on our website also, as I want to let people know. Now, gang violence is a widespread problem on Long Island, but one of our communities that has really seen a great deal of gang trouble is Roosevelt. And News 12 Long Island's Dana Lowy is at Roosevelt's Public Library tonight with some citizens who are very concerned about this issue. Dana?
Very concernedly, but what everybody here wants me to remind you, yes, Roosevelt, of course, is no stranger to gang violence, but look, this last week alone, Old Westbury, Uniondale, it's everywhere, indeed reaching epic proportions here in Long Island. And we've gotten a lot of reaction as folks here listen to the conversation. Joining me now is a member of DADS. We're talking about how males, parents, need to get more involved, and that could do a lot of good. That's what your program is about?
Yes, we like to get involved with the young people, and we like to focus on the fact that men need to be more out in front and become a part of the process.
So not having strong male influences, you were saying how men can like get in there and talk to some of these young guys real differently than their mothers.
Being a male myself, you know, I can feel another man. I know where he's coming from. I know what he means. It's like you yourself with another woman. So I think that more men need to step up to the plate and be held accountable.
All right, thank you very much. And real quickly, we were talking with Jamie, whose son is 12, turning 13. It's about the age. We said it goes as young as 10. It's something on your mind.
Absolutely, and what I'm trying to do right now is I'm an executive trustee for the Village of Hempstead's PAL. So what we try to do is give kids other choices and let them know that they have options other than running out in the streets and committing various acts of, you know, violence. And that's what we're about. And I'm very concerned having a teenager in junior high.
A preteen Adam, is it something that you see in junior high, or you have older friends?
Well, I don't see too much about it. I stay away from it as much as I can. But I do see some of the kids throwing up hand signs, doing their crip walks or blood walks or whatever, and they do it in school, and that's just what I see.
At 12 years old?
Yes.
Wow. All right. Well, we're getting a lot of reaction here, and we'll keep bringing it to you, Lee, as this evening progresses. Of course, everyone here very interested in what the experts are saying in the studio and in dealing with this problem. Back to you guys now.
All right, we have a lot more for them to listen to, so have everybody stay